top 7 of the poorest countries in existence. The Gambia. Compared to most countries in West Africa, the Gambia is relatively stable socially as well as politically. Still, it manages to rank among the poorest countries in the world, with a reported GNI per capita of less than $1,500. The Gambia has extremely limited natural resources and relies very heavily on agriculture, with Brazil nuts, wood, and cashews accounting for almost 80% of its exports back in 2017. Less than half of the Gambia's population has decent access to electricity, and over a third of this country's urban population lives in slums. Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is quite a resource-rich country in West Africa. It endured an extremely devastating civil battle that had been fueled by the diamonds and valuable minerals trade. Though the conflict ended in 2002, it destroyed several of the country's institutions, and the effects are still being felt. The problems that are associated with the lack of economic development are very evident. About a quarter of this country's population is undernourished, and Sierra Leone's maternal mortality rate is also the worst in the world. This country was also among the hardest hit due to the 2014 Ebola outbreak. Madagascar. The former French colony has been independent ever since 1960, grappling with political violence as well as coups in the last several decades. While the country does have a substantial tourism industry, it depends heavily on agriculture, with farming accounting for almost 2/3 of total employment. Living conditions for many in this country demonstrate the hardships that are associated with poverty. Over 77% of this country's urban population resides in slums, and about 43% of residents are severely undernourished. Mozambique. Like several former colonial territories, Mozambique also struggled in its early years of independence, enduring a civil conflict that lasted right from 1976 to 1992. Even though the country's economy got a boost back in 2011 with the discovery of natural gas, development continues to lag due in part to the over decade and a half of civil conflict. A staggering 62.4% of the population actually lives on $1.90 or less a day, and almost 82% live on $3.20 a day. This country is also dealing with a public health crisis, as 12.5% of the population, anywhere between 15 and 49, are HIV positive. Malawi. One of the poorest countries in the world, Malawi's staggering 70.3% population lives on less than $1.90 a day. Poorer countries are usually heavily dependent on agriculture as well as subsistence farming, and in Malawi, farming accounts for at least 71.9% of total employment. Like a few other countries in the region, Malawi is also struggling to contain the spread of HIV. Currently, at least 1 in every 10 residents between the ages of 15 and 49 are HIV positive, and, according to reports, more than 1 million children have been orphaned by this disease. Democratic Republic of Congo. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a country that is rich in resources like valuable minerals, like diamonds, copper, and gold. However, rather than being an economic boon, control over these resources has helped fuel a civil conflict that has led to as many as 6 million demises. Basic infrastructure is lacking in the country as just about 17% of the population has access to electricity, and there are reportedly no fixed telephone lines. This, along with rampant public sector corruption, makes conducting business in this country difficult. As in several poor countries, health outcomes are severely lagging here. Burundi. With a GNI per capita of just about $686, Burundi is the second poorest country in both Africa as well as the world. Burundi's modern history had been terribly stained by a 12-year-long civil conflict that was sparked in 1994 by ethnic tensions between the Hutu majority and Tutsi minority. Today, Burundi's public sector actually ranks easily among the most corrupt in the world. Burundi also happens to be the least developed country in the world. Over at least 87% of the population resides in rural areas, and fewer than 10% of residents in the country have access to electricity.